very warm welcome to everyone tuning in to the English Easy Peasy channel. We are so glad you're here with us today.
We really are.
And before we dive into anything, we just want to say a massive thank you.
Absolutely. Every comment, every single share.
Yeah.
It really does help this community grow, and we appreciate it more than you know.
It's that support that lets us bring these topics to light.
Yeah, and today's a bit of a special one. We're not doing a lecture. We aren't doing abstract theory.
No, today we are holding up a mirror.
A mirror. That's the perfect way to put it. Mm-hmm. Because we're talking about something that is silently lurking in thousands of homes right now.
The silent destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
And when we say destroyer, we aren't being dramatic. We're talking about the thing that keeps you up at night, the thing that causes those arguments that seem to come out of nowhere.
We're talking about family financial management.
And here's the hard truth, right off the bat. The majority of marital disputes, the anxiety, that heavy feeling you get at the end of the month, it is rarely caused by a lack of money.
Which sounds completely backwards, doesn't it?
Right. Everyone thinks, if I just had a higher salary, my problems would vanish.
But they wouldn't, because the real problem isn't the income, it's the mismanagement of that income.
It's about how your decisions are either building a fortress of stability for your family,
or silently dismantling your home brick by brick.
So, to really see this clearly, to look into that mirror, we want to tell you a tale of two mindsets, two very different ways of living.
Okay.
Let's start with a character we'll call Salem.
Ah, Salem. I think a lot of us have been Salem at some point, or, we know a Salem.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So picture Salem. He's not lazy. He's ambitious. He works hard. He lands a respectable job. Decent salary.
On paper, he's made it.
Totally. But watch what happens when that money hits his account.
Okay.
The first salary comes in. What does he do?
Celebration time. Big dinner out, treating all his friends.
Exactly. Second salary.
He needs a new phone. I mean, the old one works fine, but the new one just came out.
It has 3 cameras. He needs it.
He absolutely needs it. And the third salary.
He signs an installment plan for a new car, a nice car, maybe a little too nice.
And if you ask him why he's doing this, he has a mantra, doesn't he?
He does. He tells himself, I worked hard, I deserve this.
And that phrase is a trap. I deserve this.
It's the ultimate trap.
Because look, he did work hard. Emotionally, sure, he deserves a reward. But he is confusing deserving something with having a financial plan.
He's treating his bank account like a vending machine for a quick happiness hit.
Yes. And the result is this exhausting cycle. The salary lands on the first of the month, and by the second, it's gone.
Poof.
Vanished. To pay for the decisions he made 3 months ago.
He's living in the past. He's paying for past joys with future security. And then at the end of the month,
the account's empty, tension rises. He's snapping at his wife. He's short with the kids.
And he'll blame anything but himself, right? It's the times, it's inflation, just bad luck.
He blames everything but the mirror. His problem isn't bad luck. It's emotional spending. It's a total lack of planning. He's reacting to life.
He's not managing it.
Not at all. He's a passenger in his own financial journey, and the car is speeding toward a cliff.
Okay, that's a stressful picture. Let's take a breath and look at the other side of the coin. Let's meet Muhammad.
Muhammad is a breath of fresh air. Now, her family is in a different situation. Simpler house, much more limited income than Salem.
If you just looked at the numbers on paper, you'd think, oh, they must be really struggling.
You would.
Yeah.
Walk into her home, and the vibe is completely different.
It's calm.
It's calm. There is no end-of-month panic. And her secret weapon isn't a stock portfolio or a rich uncle.
It's a notebook.
a physical, old-school notebook, the power of the notebook. She writes everything down. She has categories.
Food, bills, kids' needs, small savings.
She knows exactly where every single coin is going before it even leaves her hand.
And the outcome of that simple habit, it's profound.
It is. They might not have luxury. They aren't taking fancy vacations or driving a new car. But they have something Salem would pay any amount of money for.
Peace of mind.
Stability. That's the word. When an emergency happens, a pipe bursts, a child gets sick, the house doesn't collapse.
Why?
Because she didn't wait for the disaster to prepare for it. She lives by design.
And Salem lives by reaction. That's it. That's the core difference.
Living by design versus living by reaction.
Now, if you are listening to this and thinking, I think I might be a little bit more Salem than Mohammed, don't panic.
No, don't panic, but do pay attention.
Yeah.
Because there are 5 fatal mistakes that push families from that place of stability into chaos.
The danger zones.
Exactly. Let's walk through them. Mistake number 1, denial.
This is the we're fine, it's just a tight month lie.
We tell ourselves that to sleep at night. Oh, we overspent because of the holidays. Oh, it was just the car repair.
But the reality is, if you don't change your behavior, a tight month becomes a tight year.
And eventually, a lifetime of stress. You normalize the crisis.
Yeah.
It's like being a frog in boiling water. You get used to it until it's too late.
Okay. Mistake number 2. This one is a relationship killer.
Financial silence.
Yes.
And it's tragic because it's so avoidable. You have the husband, he's stressed about money, but he's afraid to speak up. He feels like it's his burden to carry, that he's failing somehow.
And the wife?
She can feel the tension. Spouses always know.
Well.
But she's afraid to ask because she doesn't want to start a fight.
So the money just, it disappears into the gap between their fears.
Precisely. You can't manage a problem you're not allowed to talk about.
Which leads to mistake number 3, the tool that enables all of this.
Living on plastic.
The credit card trap.
It's so dangerous because it disconnects the pleasure of buying from the pain of paying. You swipe the card, you get the thing, you feel good.
You don't feel the pain of that money leaving your account until a month later.
It feels like magic money.
Yeah.
But it's actually suffocation. It creates this cycle of interest and debt where you are living on your future income.
You're spending the hours you haven't even worked yet.
You're eating your own future.
Wow. Eating your own future. That is a terrifying image.
Yeah.
Which brings us to mistake number 4, missing the safety net.
This is the emergency fund. And let's be very, very clear here. A family without an emergency fund is living on the edge of a cliff.
It doesn't matter how high your salary is.
It doesn't matter. If you live paycheck to paycheck, one job loss, one illness, one accident, and it's immediate collapse.
There's no buffer, no shock absorber.
None. And finally, mistake number 5. This one is about the next generation. It's about legacy.
Poor financial parenting. What are the kids seeing?
They are always watching. Are they seeing parents who are constantly stressed, fighting about bills? Or are they seeing reckless spending followed by regret?
We're teaching them a curriculum about money every single day, whether we realize it or not.
We are. And if we're not careful, they grow up either terrified of money, hoarding it out of fear, or completely reckless with it because that's the only model they ever saw.
Okay, so we've looked in the mirror, we see the cracks, we see the Salem tendencies in ourselves. But we are not here just to point out the problem.
No, we're here to fix it. There is absolutely a way out. And it starts with what we call the science of stability.
We need to reframe how we think about management. It's not just about being good at math, is it?
Not at all. Personal financial management is maybe 20% math and 80% behavior. It's about psychology. It's about your mental health.
And a great place to start A framework is something called the 50-30-20 rule.
I love this rule because it's so simple, it's not complicated.
Let's break it down.
Okay, so imagine your income is a pie. You slice it into 3 pieces. The biggest piece, 50%, that goes to your needs.
And when we say needs, we mean the absolute essentials.
Strictly essentials. Roof over your head, food on the table, electricity, transport to work. The things that if you don't pay them, your life falls apart.
Okay, so that's half your income. What about the second slice?
That's 30%.
Yeah.
That goes to wants. This is your quality of life. This is the new phone, the dinner out, the Netflix subscription.
So we're not saying you can never have any fun.
No, and that's crucial. A budget that's all deprivation is a budget that will fail. You need to live. But you limit it to 30%.
And the final 20%, the most important piece.
Savings and investment. And this right here is where most people get it wrong. They think savings is whatever is left over at the end of the month.
Which is usually 0 or less than 0.
Exactly. We have to flip that mindset completely. Savings must be treated as a fixed bill.
A bill you pay to your future self.
Yes. Just like you pay your rent, you pay yourself. That 20% isn't optional. It's an obligation.
You've said before that savings is dignity. Can you unpack that a little?
It's such a powerful concept. When you have savings, you have options. If your boss is treating you terribly, you can quit because you have a cushion.
You're not trapped.
You're not trapped. If you lose your job, you don't have to panic and take the first bad offer that comes along. Savings isn't about hoarding gold. It's about buying your own freedom and your own dignity.
That's beautiful. Now, within that savings bucket, we have to talk about the emergency fund again. Specifically, how much should be in there?
The target is 3 to 6 months of your essential expenses.
That can sound like a lot of cash to just have sitting there, not earning interest.
It is a lot. But its job isn't to make you rich. Its job is to prevent you from becoming poor. It stops you from going into forced debt.
So when the car breaks down,
you pay for it with cash. You don't put it on a credit card at 20% interest. The fund allows you to make rational decisions in a crisis, not emotional ones.
Speaking of debt, is all debt bad, or is there a nuance there?
There's a huge nuance. We need to distinguish between consumer debt and investment debt.
The bad versus the good.
Consumer debt is the bad stuff. This is buying things that lose value, clothes, vacations, luxury items, using money you don't have. This is the shackle. It eats your future income.
And investment debt.
That's productive debt. Taking a loan to start a business, or for education that will increase your salary, or buying an asset that generates income, that debt is a tool. It works for you.
So we have the framework, 50-30-20, emergency fund, avoid bad debt. It sounds simple on paper.
But it's very hard in practice because we're human beings. We have emotions.
Yeah.
And we have to address the psychological roots of why we spend.
Oh, why?
Yeah. Usually we spend to compensate for something. We feel anxious, so we buy something to soothe ourselves. We feel less than compared to our neighbors, so we buy something to validate our status.
It's a dopamine hit, a quick fix.
It is a very cheap high. It lasts for a moment, and then the bill comes, and the regret is so much bigger than the initial pleasure.
So how do we break that cycle? Let's get really practical. A how-to guide for the family.
Okay, step 1, the honest meeting.
This is the one everyone is afraid of.
You have to be. But you have to do it. Sit down, spouses together, or just you with yourself, and be brutally transparent. No secrets, no hiding receipts. You lay it all out on the table.
You can't fix what you refuse to see.
Exactly. Step 2, write everything down.
Back to the notebook.
Back to the notebook. Or an app, or a spreadsheet. The tool doesn't matter. But you cannot manage what you do not measure. Track every single penny.
Okay. Step 3, fixed savings.
Automate it. Set up a transfer. So the moment your salary lands, that 20% moves to a separate account. Don't even give yourself the chance to spend it.
Make it automatic. Step 4 is interesting. Reduce, don't eliminate.
This is about sustainability. If you go on a financial crash diet and cut out every single joy, no coffee, no movies, no funny, you will burn out in 2 weeks.
And then you'll revenge spend.
You'll revenge spend and buy something huge. So keep the coffee. Maybe make it at home most days, but treat yourself on Friday. You need that little release valve.
And step 5, build the fund.
Start the emergency fund gradually. It's a habit, not a sprint. Even if it's just a small amount every month, the direction matters more than the speed. Just start.
It really feels like what we're saying is that this is a learned skill. It's not magic. You're not born with it.
Exactly. No one is born knowing this. It is a muscle. You build it by doing it day after day. And the goal, the ultimate prize, it isn't just having a pile of money.
It's peace.
It is peace of mind. A family that saves is a family that has choices. It's a family that isn't living in constant crisis mode.
We want that for every single one of you listening. If this conversation felt like we were describing your home, if you felt that mirror today, let this be your wake-up call.
Absolutely. Start that notebook today. Have that honest meeting tonight. Don't wait.
And please, if you found this helpful, support the English Easy Peasy channel. Like the video, leave a comment, share it with someone who might need to hear this. Your support is what keeps this content alive.
We want to leave you with one final thought, something to carry with you.
What is it?
Organize your money before circumstances organize you against your will.
That is slightly terrifying, but very, very motivating.
It's about agency. You can be the pilot of your life or you can be the passenger. But the plane is flying either way.
You know, there's something else there too. In a world that is constantly screaming at us to buy, where every app on our phone wants to sell us something. The act of saving is almost an act of rebellion.
That's a fascinating perspective. It's countercultural.
Right. To say, no, I have enough is a radical statement. It's about reclaiming your values from a consumer culture that wants to keep you on that hamster wheel.
It's resistance against the silent destroyer. When you stop buying things to impress people you don't even like, you start building a life you actually love.
A life by design.
Just like Muhammad.
On that note, we're gonna sign off. We hope this deep dive has been a valuable tool for you. Thank you for being part of the English Easy Peasy family.
Take care of yourselves and take care of your peace.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.